Be'ezer Hashem, the Shiv V'chol B'nach, we're going to go a little bit through the ideas of the Maamar, and the Iker go more be'oimek. Certain nekudas that needs to be explained, more be'oimek. In the Maamar, we're going to try better to cover. Some things relates also to the Maamar Pada B'Sholem. The Rebbe said it one after the other one. It's both of them Tov Shem Aleph. Pada B'Sholem is Yud Kislev, and that's Shabbos Nishtach Yud Aleph Kislev. And the Inyanim are mashlim each other. So let's start at the beginning of the Maamar. The Rebbe starts with B'chol Bonayich Lumid Hashem Rav Shloim Bonayich. We say it every day by davening, so it's easy to remember. Yeah, B'chol Bonayich Lumid Hashem Rav Shloim Bonayich Al Tikre Bonayich Elo Bonayich. Chazal say that means it's not just Bonayich, Tamid HaChacham, not just Yidden, it's Bonayich. What is Bonayich? Tamid HaChacham, they are building the world. The true Torah is building the world. Oiskim bebinyan shel olam. Now there is a klal that every time that Chazal say al tikro has to have a certain question in the pasuk. That's why they say al tikro. Chazal wouldn't stay a drash. They would say there because there's a certain kasha in the pasuk. That's a klal that brought Chassidus from the Shloah Kodesh. This vote that wherever it says al tikro, there's a certain reason for it, a certain question. So what is the question over here in the pasuk? The question is very simple. What is the double lashon? It says v'chol bonayich lemud Hashem v'rav shloim bonayich. The pasuk could have said v'chol bonayich lemud Hashem v'rav shloimom. You just spoke about bonayich. V'chol bonayich lemud Hashem. So it should finish v'rav shloimom. The bonayich that you just discussed. So that's why we know that there's two halakim. There is one chelek v'chol bonayich lemud Hashem, and then there's a chelek v'rav shloim bonayich al tikra bonayich elo bonayich goes on the second part. What's the teichen? So the teichen of the Maamar is like this: that there is limud of Tamid HaChacham themselves. They're only limud. Then there's another nekuda of Tamid HaChachamim that they are changing the world. They are bonayich because they are oiskim bebinyan shel olam. They are making birurim in the world through the limud. So that's the second part of this. That's the second part of this pasuk. V'rav shloim bonayich, and the emes and the nekuda of shalom comes davke from the second part, from the al tikra bonayich elo bonayich, the oiskim bebinyan shel olam. So let's put it in a pause to see how the Rebbe answers it back by the end of the Maamar. Let's go a little bit to the teichen of the Maamar, the guf of Maamar. The Rebbe goes in to Vayishtach Yaakov Malochim. So Yaakov sent a message to Esav. Im lo vongarti, Rashi says, Tayag mitzvah shamarti. So what's the point of Yaakov telling Esav, Tayag mitzvah shamarti? Last thing that Esav cares is about Tayag mitzvah shamarti. So what's the message? So the Rebbe says, the word is that Be'emes he speaks about the Ruchnis Geinin of Esav. Yaakov got the brochas in order to be Mevar Esav. That's Be'etzem. He got the brochas in order to be Mevar Esav. And Esav, Sheresh and Neshama, is waiting for the bill. So his kid who comes to answer, why do you wait so long? So he tells him, Im lo vongarti v'tayag mitzvah shamarti. What is the pshat? That in order to have koyach to be mevarer you, to mevarer Esav, so I needed first to go to Lovon and be shemer tayag mitzvahs. That's the word at Bechsidis. Like we see soon that be'emes, in order to have koyach to be the seder aveda is to be first Lovon and then Esav. Just it's a shir Leil Nishmas Rav Wagner. It's interesting nekuda. And a lot of times, when he verbringt or brought in Chassidus, sometimes he used to bring a weltische look on it, like Musadik is from not from Chabad, and then see how the answer, the biur Chassidus Chabad is very more geschmack. But then it's mamish. Shvilpulim in English is one thing. Svoras you could take from him, but Shitas and Inyanim of Pnimis HaTeireh, to understand Ruchnis dike stories to say biurim that's not usgalt al Chassidus. Sometimes you see it's pashat be'ein harei Chassidus Chabad. So I'm saying, Maamar Musga tzat negel yonin, but I saw what's the ganze meise that Yaakov gave the bracha to Yitzchak. Yitzchak gave the bracha to Yaakov instead of giving it to Esau. So the kids nicht jetzt to negel the ganze word because it's nicht to get to bring in misnagische weltische outlook. But the good is over there that be'etzem the whole story would be better if Esau would go. And Yaakov would get the bracha, the other bracha. What's the bracha that Esau got by the end? A bracha that the bracha Esau got a bracha that if when your brother is not going to keep mitzvahs, so you're going to get it. So better if Yaakov would go. If Yaakov wouldn't go, Esau would get it. And then with the Gemele, if Esau is not going to keep mitzvahs, everything's going to go back to Yaakov. And Amai Rivka mixed in it the Eivshas ways, and that's what ruined it. You had to go with that shriek. Yeah. So, Yisrael with the Cheshach al Chassidus, it's punkt verkehrt. That the Seder had to be that Yaakov should get it. And all Gufa that came with that shriek, that's Gufa achelik of the Asbore. The all Gufa that came in such a way of a shriek, that's Gufa that is all Biu al Chassidus, based on the Zayah, that he had to go with the shriek in order to be mevar the klippes, to get such amazing brachas, is only with a shriek that Rivka organized that Yaakov should go instead. And over here comes out from the Maamar a very geschmack and nekuda that Esau Sheirish himself knew it. That all Gufe, Esau was waiting that Yaakov should get the brachas. And then Dafke Yaakov has the koyach to be mevar Esau. That's part of the plan. At kedekach that Esau has the question, the Sheirish of Esau has the question, why do you wait so long? And Yaakov explains him, Take, I didn't forget about you. I know that eventually I get a brachas in order to bring it to you also, to mevar the welt, to mevar Esau. But in this time I delay. I went to Lavan in order to give to help me, to help myself, to help you. That's good for a chelik of the plan. That's what comes out of Chassidus. There's no mistakes. There's everything good. There's a deeper avonim. Atkan is the Agdom to the sin. But what's stuck in this for? What's stuck in this for? Why do you need first Lavan and then go to Esau? So the Rebbe brings two biurim. One akuda is because Lavan, the Sheirish of Lavan is a great keach. Because Lavan is Levin alien. Let me give a little bit of taste in it. What's that Levin alien? Levin is like Lavan, white. White means something that doesn't have a particular color. I want to explain over here what you say that Lavan, white doesn't have a color, and that shows on Pshitas, it's more not white as the color white, it's more white like clear. It says in some places, Chassidus, crystal. Crystal is like ice, clear. That's the emes and nekuda of Lavan. That's really, you see that there is no mamish, no color. It's kivyoch something, but it's not a real color. And that's the emes and nekuda of bligvul, of pshites. Lavan is the father, the Indian of Lavan, Mesheresh is the Indian of Kesser Chochmabine. The Sheirish of Lavan is a Echer Adage in Kedusha. That's one as born. So Yaakov had to have the koyach to take from Lavan, from Loiven or Elyon, from the Nekuda of Pshitus of Elokus, to have koyach to go to Esau. A second view. So the second explanation Rebbe brings, because that why did he go to Lavan? Mitzat Birurim. He was mevar. Speaks about not the Lavan, the klippe, not the Sheirish of Lavan in Kedusha. You speak about the klippe. But in order to mevar the klippe of Esau, first you have to be mevar the klippe of Lavan. And then it could be mevar the klippe of Esau. First. So the kuda is, here comes the key of the Maamar, the core of the Maamar. There is two kinds of birur.
What's the quick?
Huh?
The specific level of Raven?
So the Nekuda Sadavar is like this. The Loiven shows, and the Ruchen is the Indian of Lavan. But then there's Lavan Kipshute, the klippe, as a klippe. And that's the second asbar of why Lavan had to start with Yaakov had to start with Lavan first. So the Nakud is the Rebbe says, I said it's the Nakud in the Maamar, Siv Dalet. So he said it's the Nakud in Chassidus, and it needs a lot of explanation. Siv Dalet, the Rebbe explains like this. There's two kind of Berurim. Milemailo lemato and milemato lemailo. If it's milemailo lemato, you first mevar Lavan and then you mevar Esav. Araveda b'derech klal is punkt verkehrt. Milemato lemailo. We start from milemato and then mevar lemailo. So that's why. Bechlolus. Yaakov Avinu started with Lavan. Lavan is a higher darg. Soon we're going to explain what it means. But Lavan is Kesser Chochme Bine, the three Moichen of Klippe. Esav is the Zayin Midas of Klippe. So first they started with the Biru of Moichin, and then Biru of Midas. Araved is punkt verkehrt. Bisman hazeh we do the Biru of the 7 Midas. And we learned in Mashiach Shir, it's a famous Nekuda, the Mittel Rebbe, the Rebbe Zabikoch, that when Mashiach would come, we would mevaner even the Moichin. Why? Because that's the chilik. Yaakov knows milemailo lemato. You're starting from Kesach Chochma Bina, from Lavan of Klippe, the three Moichin, and then he went to Esav, which is the Midas. Bayaz, that Aved is milemato lemailo. We start first from Esav, the Zayin Midas. Mashiach would come, would be Kenik Nizvek Admeni, Mevaros the Moichin. Ad Ken is more or less Divrei Rav. A little bit svore. A few shy, a bit more baby. What's the svore that when you go milemailo lemato, you go to Lavan first? What's the svore in it? Not the beer of the Rebbe, because the Kerchen Kedushin. Speak about the beer of Klippe himself. Why when Yaakov does it milemailo lemato, so he goes to Lavan first, and we do it milemato lemailo, we do Esav first. What's the svore in it? So I said it, I had a discussion with Avrohom about this Indian. So he tells me, Pashat, if you come milemailo lemato, what do you meet first? Lavan, Kesach Chochma Bina. And then you go down until Esav. If you go milemato lemailo, you meet first Esav, and then you meet the more grobe Klippe, the Midas, more, not grobe, more the Chelek HaTachton Zayin Midas, then you climb up. But it's very, very technical. That's not a hasbore. It's not a common sense, because if you have to have a hasbore in svore, not just technically. Yaakov had a neshama beguf also, so he could have also started milemato lemailo, right? So has to have a svore. What's the pshat, the view of Yaakov is milemato lemato, and al pis this svore it's understood with common sense. What's the pshat that you're starting with earlier? So the word is like this. Is a mashal of the Rebbe Rashab. Friedrich Rebbe brings it also in the Maamorim. Yishmak Nekude, to understand. It's a mashal. You have it in Ein Beis, you have it in Friedrich Rebbe's Maamorim also. It's a very Yishmak Nekude. Two ifanim are you mevar b'chul. Let's explain kipshutai. When you have silver, you have gold. Gold, be'etzem naturally comes with earth. It's mixed together. You cook it. So then the good gets separated from the bad. And that's Bechal Avedas HaBirurim is, every klippe is a nitzvah of Kedusha. Elomai, it's mixed together. And the Nekud of Avedas HaBirurim is to take away, to be mevarer, the toy from the Ra. But it could be two ifanim. Biru milemailo lemato, biru milemato lemailo. What is the pshat? So let's take the Moshe. The Moshe very Gishmak Moshe. It describes it. It's a Moshe for Chassidus. It's a Moshe. And also the description of it is also the teichen of the idea. Let's explain. How do you do it? When you want to separate, there's two ways how to do it. You cook it, and it starts to get separated. So one way is, you do milemailo lemato. What is the pshat? You go to the gold, and you scoop out the gold that got already separated. You scoop out the gold, and then you cook small. You take out more gold, take out more, and then more gold. Now, the first gold is the most pure gold. Why did the taka came out first, separate? Because the chatchila wasn't so mixed with the oat. Because the chatchila wasn't so mixed, so it was easy even out first. In other words, is more lechatchila is a better halokim of the mixture. So when you spoon out, it's more pure gold. Then you go further, after cooking more, a part that's not so pure, and you spoon out the next liquid of gold. That's called milemailo lemato. What is milemailo lemato? Milemailo lemato is not just some words, it's a teichen. You start with the better part of the birurim. You relate to the better part of the birurim, and this way you are going further and further to be mevaret. And this is understood, yeah? Why are you starting with Lovan? Yaakov went milemailo lemato. Bechal, just one post clarification. Yaakov is voor met een tegen. So, what should Bechal birurim? There's no tegen mitzvahs besides bris milah. No one speaks about bris milah. Besides individual mitzvahs, what's Bechlal pshat of Yaakov Avinu doing birurim? So the word is, the tegen is, Yaakov Avinu, the Vedas birurim was a keach for us. The obvious birurim was beikir in yonom to give keach for us. We should do the birurim. And that is the Zbora Gufe, Favos was milemailo lemato. And also, I'm explaining this with a little bit more Zbora. How do Yaakov Avinu do the birurim? The way is like this. The obvious, Bechal. And it's a very geschmack and why you go milemailo lemato. When you have a strong Yaakov Avinu personally and a lot of Gilui Elokus, it's been completely Elokus. So when he goes to the Dagi of Lovan, he attracts to himself the good sparks. Like the when you have the famous word of Chassidus about Asasem Tshuva, that you have nitzutz, kiruv, amor ala nitzutz. How does it work? You have a big torch. You see it b'muchash. If you have a big torch and you put it next to a match, what's going to happen to the match? The match is going to get withdrawn to the torch, because the fire. You could try it out. Even you have a match, you have a little match, and you have a big fire, like the stove, a gas stove. You're going to see. Put it next to it. You see that the fire of the match is going to get attract to the big fire. That's the same nekuda. Yaakov was completely bottled delakus. It was midas atiferes delakus. Midas arachmanos delakus. When he came to the Daga of Lovan, which is Kesach Chochma Bina of Klippe, he attracted to him the better parts of the Netzutzik Dush and the better part that you have mixed in Lovan. Right? So Al Pi Zeh, that's like you spoon out the gold. How should you spoon out the gold? You relate to the better part of Klippe, and you give them a grace keach, a grace in kedusha, a grace in elokus. B'meila it's understood why you start first with the better part, because you get attract to you better the place of klippe that lachatchila has more nitzutzis of kedusha. That says like in the most of gold, the better part of gold get mevua first. When you go milemailo lemato, you spoon out the better part of gold. The same thing in Kedusha. You start the grace chayes of Kedusha. You come to the place of klippe that sparks. The Kesach Chochma Bina that has the sparks of Kedusha is more shayches to Kedusha. So you attract them. And then you go to Esav, which Esav is the midas of klippe. It's a lower chelik. It's more the lower part of the gold that tak has a shayches, has more shayches to the mixture of the ut. So when you want to spoon out even such a kind of a gold, it's next stage. After you attract the better parts of the gold, which is Kesach Chochma Bina, the Netzutz Kedusha that you have there, then you go even to the lower Indian. And that's one I could. So that understood. Kitzel, we answer the svore. Why milemailo lemato? When you go milemato, you go first to Lovan, because that's a better part of gold. Because also that's the style, the oifen of the biru, that you bring such a strong torch, such a strong light of energy of kedusha, and you mevaret. And you are attracting to yourself the better parts of it. So that's why you go to higher dag of higher dag. Kesach Chochma that has this nekud. At kan is one nekud. Now let's see a little bit about milemato lemailo. What is Milamato Lamailo? Araved. So why do we start Milamato Lamailo? We start with Midas, and only last love we're going to go to the Meichen. So this one Asbore, we discussed it in the Mashiach Shir, we learned about Kenik Nizv Kadmeini. It's connected to this Nakuda, but I'm going to go a little different track. More connected to the Nakudas HaBirurim, the signal of this mind. So the boat is like this. Again, the Hefshon. Let's see. A person, in Avodas Hashem, what says in Tanya? What's the expectation? Machshav Dibur Maise. Pe'el Mamish. Higher than this is to be Tei Tzadik, to be Me'apech the Midas. And then, to change the Mechin is only lost loving, favas. Because we are dealing with the Ra Mamish. Our Aveda is not to spoon out the Toiv. Our Avedas HaBirurim is to take away the bad part, like the second way of separating good from bad. So obviously, what's the more grobe Aveir? To do Aveir Pe'el Mamish against Hashem, or to have grobe Taivis? Obviously, the Meiser Pe'el is the worst thing. So Meiser Pe'el. So like the Rebbe says, very geschmack, Tov Shin Aleph, the Rebbe Chavgim in Shabbos and Baruch Imanun. I met with Tov Shin Aleph, the Rebbe spoke about the Eiche, Istach Bechal, the Rebbe spoke about Moshiach, Ala Eiche Inyanim. But the Rebbe spoke, Chayla Shalom, is Anila Deidi, you have to do tshuva. So the Rebbe says, you start with the most important thing. Milamato Lamailo, you start with practical thing. That's what Anila Deidi Milamato Lamailo. When you go Milamato Lamailo, you don't go to Eiche Inyanim. Fakat, you go to grobe Inyanim. The more, Benegel Yonenu, the Meride, Rachman Tzlan, in Meiser Pe'el against Shulchan Aruch, that's the most Meride in the Eibishter. So you start with this. Then you go more idle and could take away the Ut, which is a little bit more idle Ut, which is Midas. And then until you have the Mechem. Yeah? So Mele is a thing. What comes out? Be'oimek Yesam, I'm saying, Mamish more vote, Be'oimek Yesam. What's the Pshat Yaakov's Mvar Berurim? I said before, it's before Matan Torah. When Yaakov's Mvar Berurim means he went to the higher parts of Klippe, the Nitzutzes Gdusha, and he gave them a lot of chayes, positive chayes of Gdusha. So that gives us, the emes and Akud of Dir B'Tachtenim is the Birum Milamato Lamailo. When you walk with the actual thing, you do walk with the Chelek Omar. So all Gufa that Yaakov gave a big chayes of Gdusha to the Chelek HaToif, to the good part of the gold, helps out for our Aveda. So it's talking before Matner, it's only Achonim, because the Iker Aveda, Sof Kosov, is Milamato Lamailo. Yeah. So that's the Nekude, that's a little bit of Zbore in Seif Daled and Hey. Now let's see one Mamish, one Nekude of the Maskon of the Maamar. Very Gishmakem revolution. The Rebbe says that, why do you have in Torah the all say Aveda of Yaakov? Our Aveda is doch Milamato Lamailo. And Yaakov is doch Milamato Lamato. So why do you learn about Yaakov? What's the Rebbe? The Rebbe says you have in Torah Gufe Inyanim of Milamailo Lamato, and it's a chelik of the Inyan. The Rebbe explains it in few ways, but one of the Nekudas is למשה לא אני חסידס. חסידס זה בעצם מלמעלה למטה. אז חסידס זה הנה וגילו לקוס. Let's חסידס זה בעצם. גילו לקוס. This is Shulchan Aruch comes and tells you מלמטה למעלה. Meiser Pe'el. Similar to what we said before, עכשיו דיברו מייסה, practical עניונים. You climb up from מלמטה to more אחר ונכר. חסידס comes and tells you לכתחילה עניין of bit במציאס. So that's good for the Iroh from Yaakov. בכלל you think, where do you start? You start with Nigle. Start with Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Start with Nigle. Then, eventually, you're going to come to Chassidus. Because you start Milamato Lamailo. He says, no. That's what you learn. All Gufi that says in Torah about Yaakov is a Iroh that in a certain aspect you have to start Lechatchila Ribam. That's in other words. You have to start Lechatchila even with children to learn Yanim of Pnim Satera. Like the Nekuda that you learn with kids Aleph Beis from the Shabbat of Tanya. What's the Nekuda? You learn Aleph Beis. You learn the basics. But you take a Sefer Tanya to learn with them Aleph Beis. Because that's part of the Nekuda. You want to show and give the koyach that even our Aveda is beikir the Aveda milamato lamailo, but you learn from Yaakov that right away lechatchile you start with a greater gilui of milamato lamato. And the Nekuda Sadavar is because we are from Mashiach. The whole Aveda Chassidus Bechlal And Eden, more beprotius, the Aved of Eden before Mashiach is to get ready for Mashiach. And the ganze Nekud of Mashiach is doch that we're going to have a shaykhs to this Echer this Milemayla Lemata Dike Matzev. So b'meile, right now we have a certain achone from this Nekud Gufe. The same thing, Yaakov started with Kenik Nizvikat Meini, he started with the Mechin, Milemayla Lemato. We have also the aspect of Milemayla Lemato. Das heißt, every union im Gelum of Primus Atayre, which is the Chatchila higher than Araved. And that's the maskon of the Maamar. The maskon of the Maamar is that on one end is Primus Atayre is the Chatchila higher Welt. But then you have to be mashpia also on Limud and Nigle. Das heißt, we explain now that Nigle is kilo millimato, Lamailo, Chsil is millimato. But the maskon yeah, that's Bechlolus. Aber the Indian is doch that the Chassidus should be mashpia in the Nigle. That's the kavane of. So the and other Rabbi when Chassidus is mashpia in Nigle, Chassidus gets aliyah because there's a mile in millimato lamailo. There's a mile that then you take the Welt himself and you walk with the Ra of the Welt and you're changing it. Like we explained before, that you start the most of cooking, that you start after with the Ut, the Chelik of Gashmis. That's the Biur Milimato Lamailo. Mashenke Chassidus is more the Yaakov Avinu style, Milimato Lamato. But the Biur B'Tachtenim is doch Milimato Lamailo. So that's why Chassidus gains with being Mashpia Nigle. Chassidus gains with this fact. You could say a Pashto Nekuda, but the Rebbe established this Nekuda to say Pilpulim in Chassidus. The whole Nekuda of learning Ayin of Pilpul belongs to Nigle. You would say it's past nicht to have Ayin of Pilpul in Chassidus. But the Nekuda is that you want to be Mechaber, the Milamayla Lamato, Milamayla Lamato. It means that even Milamayla Lamato, there's a word that brings it out. It's also a practical Nekuda. That Mel Futafas once a Bocher said a Pilpul in Chassidus, because the Rebbe had a big koch in it. And Kamel felt that the Bocher said, the Bocher was Mechadish Anu Da'age im Bittel. Mechadish Anu Da'age im Bittel. So, but he said it with the ganze his pashtus, his Pilpul. The ganze yeshes. So Kamel Futu was standing on the side, it was quiet because it's the Rebbe's Hiroi. And he was listening with the Cheretz. After the Bocher finished the Pilpul in Chassidus and the Nu Da'age of Bittel, so he says, the man says, perhaps the more Da'age of Bittel is Mechadish, the more he becomes himself a Yesh. But then he said that the Pashtus, even though the Rebbe knew it's going to be Meisif in Yeshes. But Rabbi Zozan a Koch in Chassidus. Should be a Koch in Chassidus. According to our Maamar, you could say that's not just a B should be a Koch in Chassidus. There's an Nekuda that to be Mechaber Nigle Chassidus. It's a chelik of the Sinyan. To make the Chibur of Milemaylo Lemato of Chassidus with the style of Milemato Lemailo. And the Rebbe says that's the pshat of the Pasuk. וכל בנייך לימוד השם רב ושלם בנייך וכל בנייך לימוד השם doesn't say shalom כל בנייך לימוד השם because that's the only limud Torah that's כאילו מלמעלה למטה that's the תלמיד חכם himself that is Zachar from Welt. Then you get what's the second part of the pasuk ורב שלם בנייך אל תקרא בנייך אלא בנייך that are building the Welt. That has to do with the biru of מלמטה למעלה the nigledike style. So you might think, obviously the first part is the best part. V'chol b'nei Hashem Hashem, it's the one Chassidus, the Arechah from Welt, the Milch HaChom themselves. Second part sounds like low. They're dealing with the Welt, they're dealing with the Milemato L'mayla of the Welt. Says the Pasuk name, punkt verkehrt. The Kavanah is not to stay with this Milemayla L'mato, not to stay with Chassidus only. The vote is that it should be affecting the Welt. And dafke then you get the Rav Shloim Banoich. Haltikar Banoich. The Rav Shloim says only the second part that has to do with Binyon Shel Olam, Banoim that change that are building up the Welt, that are doing the Avedas HaBerurim.